25 years ago, a horror movie came on the scene that spawned a series of 6 films. Replacing Jason Voorhees and Freddy Kruger with leaky faucets, clotheslines, TV antennas, and the wind, a new twist on the genre was introduced with the film Final Destination.
Welcome to the very first episode of Bedlam Movie Night,
Woohoo!
the podcast where we dissect, deconstruct, and exhume films from the depths of horror, action, sci-fi, and beyond. I'm Ben Marlowe, joined by John Anderson,
Hello, hello.
and tonight we're boarding a doomed flight straight back to the year 2000 with Final Destination. Instead of classic slasher, we've got Death doing his best, Rube Goldberg.
And just a quick spoiler announcement. We are going to spoil not only this movie, but movies you've probably never heard of, movies that you've never seen, and so on and so forth. We get into fun facts about how the movie got made, what it has in common with other films and directors, etc., etc. So just be forewarned.
Death works in mysterious ways, and so does the Bedlam.
That's right. So, yeah, this franchise is celebrating its 6th installment with Bloodlines this year. I saw that one in theaters. It's definitely a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The scariest thing in it by far is the acting. It's almost
People are loving it though.
it's
getting
great.
really good
No,
reviews.
don't get me wrong. Like that's what we love certain horror movies for is, it being just the right amount of goofy and cheesy versus,
Yeah.
horrific.
But yeah, so I guess this movie launched 6 films, 9 novels, and 2 comic books.
I did not know about the novels.
Yeah, I know. How about that? And yeah, I remember it was released in 2000, so I was a freshman in high school, and I remember seeing it in theaters right around my birthday because it came out in March. And yeah, it affected me thoroughly. I was like too scared to cross the street.
Yeah.
And even rewatching it, I will say like it's a silly ass movie, but I still like was like thinking about it a little bit. Kind of got to me like watching Jaws and going swimming or something.
Yeah, Jaws definitely had an effect on like an entire generation of people where they were like wouldn't even get in a swimming pool.
Yeah, I mean it did. That's why it's like a classic, and I think that's why this kind of did it. I mean, it's a little silly with like the death creeping up on things, and we'll get into that. Like I don't know, like just that he like covers his tracks.
Well, it's
like dusts
also
his fingerprints or whatever.
Yeah, totally. It's also like like he's like the perfect serial killer.
Yeah,
It's like I use this
exactly.
piece of wire
And it's like
a
your
kitchen
death.
knife.
You could just like give the guy a heart attack real quick. Like,
Yeah, you didn't need to go through all of this. It's also like kind of one big metaphor for like extreme OCD,
right.
where you can't look at you can't look at kitchen appliances without
Yeah,
imagining what could happen.
It's almost cruel
Yeah.
because it's like like a mental issue. It's not like going swimming. Well, I guess you can be like scared to go swimming, but still, it's like something
Yeah.
that affects a large population, and it just like flicks that nerve so hard.
Well, I read that the story for the film was inspired by real events. There was a woman who was about to board her flight, and I guess like the night before, her mother called her and told her not to get on the plane. The mother had had like a bad feeling. So the woman took her advice and switched flights, and the plane she was supposed to get on actually crashed. And the screenwriter, Jeffrey Reddick, he wrote the story as a spec script for an episode of X-Files. So
that makes sense.
he had he had this whole story fleshed out where like Scully and Mulder would be involved, but instead of selling it there, he just continued to develop it into a feature-length film. The cast was originally going to be more like adult-oriented, but the success of Scream a few years earlier changed all of that. Like Scream, like even though it repackaged an old flavor, it managed to blow up the horror genre once again. And
Yeah,
so
it was
there's like
a big deal.
you got like I
Teenagers.
Know What You Did Last Summer, you got Final Destination.
And they're like, how about instead of a slasher, we make it death? I mean, they really
Yeah.
jumped a few stairs right there.
Yeah, like traditionally this type of formula is meant for teenagers anyways. Like you've got teenagers trying
Yeah.
to deal with a menacing thing, which I guess is why the formula has lasted for so long.
I guess it makes sense too because yeah, James Wong did the director. He did a couple X-Files episodes,
Yeah.
and he also did this movie called The One with Jet Li, which is just so
Oh,
badass.
yeah.
But this is the kind of all he ever did, and then it stopped after that.
Right.
Well, kind of back to what you were saying about what kind of inspired the script. My dad, and I'll try to make this story kind of quick because it's a crazy one. When he was young, he was driving, and he was all of a sudden overwhelmed by this like incredible dread, to the point where he pulled over to the side of the road and looked on his tires in the back seat above him and everything, and he like shook it off. And when he got in the car, he said the last thing he remembers is shifting into second gear.
Mm.
And he woke up the whole 9 yards, like in a full body cast, like, a couple days later. And a few months later, he was driving, or, not a few months after he had recovered,
Right.
he was driving and he got the exact same overwhelming dread feeling, and he pulled off to the side of the road immediately just as a car came flying by him and stuff like that. So,
Yikes.
there's stuff out there. You never know with that, but yeah. So funky stuff.
Well, in terms of like subgenre, I guess like this one could be classified as a supernatural slasher film. Like
Right.
it's got all the trappings of a traditional slasher movie except for having a physical villain.
Mm-hmm.
So that gives it the supernatural quality where it's like, oh, this omnipotent force that can like, you know, make faucets leak and
Yeah, yeah.
electricity happen is creeping up on you. So
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of the butterfly effect at that time, and It
yeah.
Follows, which I think came afterwards.
Well, also, I mean, if you think about it, Chucky, or the movie Child's Play with the Chucky doll, that's supernatural horror or supernatural slasher because you got the inmate who's into the occult. Like when he dies, his spirit passes into this children's doll, and
Yeah,
then the
it's
doll
the
becomes a
doll's
slasher.
still holding a knife and talking shit. It's
Yeah,
pretty scary.
you just still have a physical being, but the means of its existence is like supernatural. Also, a kind of a weird Wes Craven tie-in, I guess, is that movie The Shocker. Did you ever see that one?
No.
Great Wes Craven movie, but similar idea. This death row inmate somehow escapes his body and gets into like the power lines of the town and like stalks
Hmm.
the son of the detective that got him or something. It's a wild story idea, but it's,
It reminds me of my favorite Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episode where Snake gets executed and vows he'll come back and kill everyone and possesses Homer because Homer gets his hair in the police auction.
Is that the one where Homer goes into the bar
Yes.
and Moe's like, you're looking unusually focused today?
Yes,
Yeah.
one of the best Simpson lines
Yeah.
of all time. And another tie-in, like you said, with Wes Craven. Those of you who have been wondering what the hell happened to Devon Sawa, he's been in a couple of the Chucky episodes, but he's
Chucky
trying.
episodes?
Yeah, there's like a series of Chucky, which I didn't know too.
That's wild.
Yeah, but he's,
How much more can we tell about this doll?
I have no idea, but yeah, it doesn't surprise me. But
Right.
yeah,
I had a funny thought rewatching this that it's interesting to think that when this movie came out, I was about 14 or 15, and obviously would relate to Alex, the high school student, more as a kid. But now I'm roughly the same age as both of the parents in the film. So, but I couldn't be further from owning a house or let alone having a family. You know what I mean? So like,
yeah, of course.
I'm like watching. I'm like, oh, I'm now their age, and
Yeah, well, but well beyond even the teacher's age.
yeah, exactly.
Who is a complete rip-off or like target version of Rachel Weisz, the girl from The Mummy. I like in my memory, I thought that was her in Final Destination.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, wasn't Devon Sawa? He was in Idle Hands,
One of
right?
the best movies ever created.
Which you've talked about covering.
We
should
have to cover that.
Definitely.
And of course, he was in the Stan music video by Eminem, which was also very iconic.
It kind of has an Eminem vibe. Like he
was
could be like
great.
Eminem's stand-in for.
That's kind of what he was in the
Right.
music video. He was the like fan who like, did you ever absorb that music video?
No,
Oh,
can't say
amazing.
that I did.
And another thing I want to say about Sean William Scott being in this movie,
Stifler.
which is he's coming. He was Stifler. Then he's trying to like tone down his like douchery, I guess.
He wanted to do like serious stuff and just not immediately get branded as
Yeah, and
that
then
for the
he
rest of his career.
goes right into doing Road Trip, and he was just Stifler again. And
Yeah.
everyone's like, "You're back." However, I will say,
Didn't he just like perpetually wear a hockey jersey in all of his films?
yeah, and then he made a pretty good comedy actually called Goonies
Yeah.
about him being a hockey player, which is great. But
Goon.
yeah, Goonies, yeah, right. But I want to say, if Chris Pratt stole every single job that Sean William Scott should be having right now.
Interesting.
He would be so much better as Star Lord, and because he's like jacked up and funnier, and we just like a better, not creepy freaking Chris Pratt guy too.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm a little pissed at Chris Pratt, for more reasons because of that.
Well, I guess tally up the list.
Oh my god, it's getting long. That son of. If you walk through Universal Studios nowadays, it's sponsored by him because he does the Mario voice, he does Jurassic Park. I mean, he's all over the fucking place. Yeah, it's driving me insane.
I mean, the checks he must be collecting now, though. Man.
Oh my lord! And yeah, then he's got his foot in Disney with all the fucking Marvel too. I mean, it's disgusting. Yeah, good lord.
I just remembered this funny fact that Jeffrey Reddick, the film's screenwriter, he states that he regrets actually not giving the villain a physical body because they missed out on, Halloween costumes and action figures, like a whole realm of cash-ins that, usually you get with stuff like this, licensing opportunities, whenever just completely.
I think that's where this movie gets such a hard divide is because I think they didn't pick a lane. Like it should just be all like anything could happen or. Yeah, there's like a.
They picked a lane. I know what you mean, but they definitely picked a lane because they put a new stamp on the genre. Like it's a whole. It's kind of like
the new one.
Well, no, just this concept of like, it does have a thriller slasher vibe, but there, like I said, there's no slasher. It's kind of rings a bell with me, like In a Violent Nature did, where that's a total perspective flip. But you have the same type of movie, but from a different point of view. This plays with that horror perspective a little bit, and that like, oh, it's coming for you, and it's like, what's coming? It's like, I don't know, the kitchen sink.
Yeah.
Like you better watch out. So it's fun. Like they kind of got something new and different going on, and I guess they could only achieve that without having that actual guy to follow you around.
I guess that's I guess that's kind of what I was like thinking where. They really just saw Scream. I Know What You Did Last Time. Like, ooh, slasher teenager, and just jumped all the way to this existential thing rather than be like maybe it could be like a doll or something. But
yeah, the jump wasn't. The jump was a long time in the making. I think Jeffrey Reddick worked at New Line Cinemas for like 10 years while he was toying around with the script and hoping to sell it. So it was something that he. Wrote, then rewrote, then had other writers rewrite with him, and so on and so forth. I also wonder, this might be one of the last times that a movie features a major plane crash as a central plot point, as 9/11 was just around the corner when this movie came out. I don't remember for sure, but I feel like movies might have chilled on depicting major plane crashes for just a little while.
A little bit.
Yeah, this might have been one of the last ones.
I was going to say, I think this is all-time best plane crashes, only recently outdone in Horror Keeps You Up at Night by Society of Snow, that Netflix about the rugby players who crashed and had to eat each other.
Okay.
Whew, that plane crash scene, makes me dizzy.
Oh, is that based on the plane crash was in Chile, right?
In Argentina, yeah.
Yeah, that film Alive is about that.
Yeah, yes. This is the new one. It's a lot better than Ethan Hawke running around with his goatee that doesn't seem to grow a beard the whole time. But still, Alive is good. But yes.
Well, not so many people survive this movie. There's a death count of 44. But if you want to count everybody that died in the plane, plus the high school students, that survived and the teacher and everything, you've got a total body count of 325, which I think might be the highest in any horror movie.
Yeah, well, that's why plane crashes are so goddamn scary, I tell you.
Yeah.
I was laughing at this idea of trying to explain to your friend how somebody died in the Final Destination universe, where they're like, "How did your friend die?" Oh, well, he was working out and yeah, underneath a sign that said like, always be on point, and there was a sword up there, and they're like, "Oh, did the sword fall?" No, that was
No, not
just there
quite.
to kind of let you know that there was danger around. And it's like, "Oh, and then the things on the bench were a little loose. Oh, did that get him all?" No, no. Eventually, he went out of there. He went outside, and a baseball hit a bird, and then goes on to this whole thing, and it just, oh, what the hell?
He actually slipped on a banana peel
Yeah,
and busted his head.
and then it ended up with like his intestines being pulled out of his butt into a pool. Something just way too much.
Right, he got too close to the jacuzzi
Yeah,
jet or some
isn't that
shit.
one of the deaths in one of these?
In one of them, there's a pool getting sucked through the thing.
That's another thing about this kind of franchise is it just is like the opening scenes or the big shocking deaths. There's no like,
Yeah.
there's no killer pulling the whole thing through. So yeah, you don't really like see like, oh, he's back, or you have the folklore. So it's
Right.
just like,
It's not a question about when or if these characters are going to die. That's the fun part. That's the new twist on it. It's like how
yeah, exactly.
cool, like how crazy are we about to get with this? And
That's what they embraced
new
in
thing.
this new one. I'm
Exactly.
thinking.
Well,
A
that's
little
what they
bit.
do in all of them.
Yeah,
they,
yeah.
they outdo themselves from each one. And there's the new one has got a lot to give.
I've heard. Yeah, I'm excited to see it after because I was kind of just like not sold. Then when we're like, yeah, let's do the original. I rewatched it. I was like, yeah, this shit definitely like. And I was right there with Idle Hands and stuff. I was on board. I know what you did last summer, Jennifer Love Hewitt. I was there.
You mentioned intestines a second ago. There was a scene that didn't make it into the movie, but it follows the character Terry after she gets killed, and she follows her boyfriend around. And there's a scene where her ghost is like taunting him, and the ghost starts to vomit. And I guess there's like a side part of the story where Terry's character was bulimic or something. But basically, the ghost begins to like vomit up her own intestines and internal organs.
Huh.
And I don't think they filmed it. I don't know what they did with they scrapped it all together. But at the end of the day, they were like, "This is too much for this movie," I guess. But I don't know. You didn't even have to have a ghost. You could have just done that to one of the characters.
The way she died, yeah.
Yeah, something.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I was doing a little research and read that this is something they actually did in several of the movies, but they did it, it started with this one, but each of the characters' names reflect different horror filmmakers and actors. So you've got the lead, you've got Alex Browning, the lead protagonist, is a reference to Todd Browning, who directed the original 1931 Dracula film.
Oh, nice.
The teacher, Valerie Luton, is a reference to Val Luton, who directed a horror movie called Cat People and another one called I Walked with a Zombie. Like, I think that's like 40s or 50s,
She also did one called like The Seventh Person or something.
Yep.
Or he did, and it's funny too because there's 7 victims.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Terry Chaney is a reference to Lon Chaney, who was the Phantom of the Opera, and his son, Lon Chaney Jr., who played the original Wolfman. Todd Wagner is a reference to the director who directed the original Wolfman. So you've got another Wolfman tie in there. You've got Billy Hitchcock, played by Sean William Scott, which is obvious enough. Yeah. Then you've got one of the FBI agents named Shrek, who is a reference to Max Schreck, the original Nosferatu. And finally, you've got Larry Murnau, the teacher who stayed on the plane, is a reference to F.W. Murnau, who directed Nosferatu.
Huh.
So lots of like Easter eggs like that. And that's a tradition that they carried on to the different films.
There's a lot of ridiculous details in such like a cheesy movie. In the opening sequence, for instance, there's like, it tells all the deaths. You see like a doll on a window and it looks like a hanging person. Mm-hmm. He shows a book, The Death of a Salesman. In the ending, he gets hit by a car. There's a shot of the gallows for Billy.
He gets hit by a billboard.
Yeah, spoiler, as we said. And there's like a Jim Morrison, and Jim Morrison died in Paris. It's just, there's so much like silly so it's like rank with these every 2 seconds.
Also the Jim Morrison thing. It's funny. I think it might be a little bit of a stretch, but you can't help but notice it. Um, there was someone saying that the opening credit montage was kind of a nod to Apocalypse Now because you've got the close up of a fan, although in Apocalypse Now the opening scene is a ceiling fan, but the fan is a fan. And then at the end of that credit montage, you've got the words "This is the end," which is a Doors song and was played throughout Apocalypse Now. Like that was the film's theme. So you got to wonder, like, was somebody trying to like toss that in the mix too?
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of the Seven opening too.
Right. That credit, like that type of credit montage is. You see it a lot in movies in the '90s, and
it's coming back too.
It's kind of coming back. I don't know. Like I kind of much prefer the opening scene to be the thing that establishes you in the story in the movie. The opening credit montage does it in a different way, spread out over 2 minutes.
If it's a super cinematic thing, I mean, James Bond, of course, we need that.
Definitely landed that home.
Another fun detail that's like just to show like just the thought that was put into this when the bully's driving and they're at the cafe.
Yeah.
He's listening to 9 Inch Nails Into the Void, and that has 25 lines, and he sits in row 25. God. And the lyrics quite literally describe like I'm walking myself to the station thinking of my final destination, and it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that I found ridiculous about this movie was the score. I mean, it drives
all over the place.
It's all in your face throughout the whole movie, just telling you like, "Uh-oh, it's going to be scary." Like it's definitely the driving force throughout the whole story.
It became a thing though, right?
Yeah, like running water will never be alarming just on its own, but you put like all the creepy violins behind it, and suddenly it's like, uh-oh.
And what is this fucking John Denver thing going on in here? Like,
well, that's like the calling card for each death, and that's another.
That's Death's soundtrack. He's like, oh, John Denver plays "I'm a Coming."
I can't help but think I really wanted Lloyd Christmas from Dumb and Dumber to show up and be like, that John Denver's full of shit, man.
It's fucking I mean, it was like it wasn't subtle too because they like mention it. They're like John Denver. John Denver died on a plane.
Well, yeah, he died in 1997 in a plane crash, so that's your tie-in right there.
In the second one, that's like the only one that I like sticks with me is the log scene and the highway. That one's kind of the champion.
Yeah.
But I do remember on the radio it plays Highway to Hell, and that like every time I hear that I'm driving I change it because of that fucking movie. So
yeah,
it's got the power.
It got under your skin.
It did.
The one thing I did want to mention about the music is that this movie could almost be a comedy if the music were different and the death scenes were like played up a little bit more. Like it could just be a really twisted black comedy version of the Three Stooges. If you played the music just right.
Just like everything they touch comes into this like horrific. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's kind of why in the intro I was calling it Rube Goldberg, because it's just like, what the fuck is going on here? Yeah. And just like death being like, then the egg will fall down and go down the hill.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, I think on that little decompression, it's time for us to jump into the dungeon.
I agree. I don't have anything else about the director of the production, so let's just get into the dungeon.
All right, here we go. So yeah, we open up with the most infamous scene, the airplane crash. And I like little subtleties like we discussed. Another one is she says it's your birthday, and did you know you're statistically more likely to die on your birthday than any other day?
Who said that?
That's a stat.
From who?
It's a stat from just the world. But
the world.
The mom says, here, I'll look it up.
I noticed in the background of Alex's bedroom when his parents are, helping him get packed for the trip, there's a poster for the film Pecker. And I guess somebody on set must have been a John Waters fan because that movie came out a couple of years before. It was John Waters' first attempt at making like a mainstream Hollywood thing. I never saw it, but I was like, that's a very particular choice.
I love John Waters.
Yeah.
I love that man.
Also, there's like a dinosaur on Alex's wall too, and he's like supposed to be 17 or 18. It's like, why do you still have dinosaurs on your...
You
wall,
can't tell
bro.
his age too, and he's got like fucking airplane hanging up too, and I mean it's just a little thing. I mean we're going ahead in the dungeon, but there's that like after the plane crash when he's hanging out his room, the plane is like hanging right in front of him. You take
Right.
that down. I mean if you saw a kid and you're like, what happened to that kid? Oh, he almost died in a plane crash. And you went into his room and he had a plane hanging up and he was about to masturbate. You'd be like, this guy's fucked up. Like,
Right.
and they say he sees death. Also, did you notice when the poor guy with the Lou Gehrig's disease? Did you see that that's what he's credited as, his Lou Gehrig's disease guy?
I did not see that.
Yeah, and
That's
he
the
does,
role. That's the role of his life.
and he doesn't have Lou Gehrig's disease,
No.
you know. But just
Actor.
but yeah, that scene stuck with me. You know, for a while I would do the little knob thing every time I got on an airplane, just because I was a weirdo kid.
Right before he gets on the plane, it like zooms into his like alarm clock,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like 1 a.m. and then it flickers and changes to 180, which is his flight number. And
Yeah.
that little like special effects moment took them like something like 4 days to get right. Like they really had to like
That's
work with that
because
one.
there's no 8 in that place.
Right, and on the clock there's no 8. It should
Yeah,
be
or yeah, I don't know. There's that 3. I don't know. That part I thought was stupid. I was because they're like littering all the subtleties with like the books and stuff, and then
they're throwing everything at you.
yeah, it's a lot.
Well, TWA Flight 800 was a real life flight that inspired, the whole plane crash. It went down in 1996 and also had a group of high school students, high school French students on board on their way to Paris.
Yee.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly if how much of this is true, but it said that they used actual footage from the crash in
Really?
the film. I don't know exactly. Again, that's just something
Yeah, that seems like a stretch because
that's a lot. Yeah,
the crash is pretty just a special effects fire scene.
yeah.
The silliest part
I
is
don't
when
really
the
know how that
blood-
would be possible.
No, there wasn't anything like maybe some news footage.
Yeah.
But I love when the blood splatter happens during the crash. It like makes no sense.
Right.
It's like somebody like slipped and like cracked their head open.
They're just
the-
trying to make
Yeah.
this is scary and violent. It's yeah.
Well, when he burns at the end, that still stuck with me. Maybe because it like freaked me out so badly as a kid. Even watching it now, I was like, ooh, god damn.
Yeah, I mean it's a really not fun, but they they taking that moment that everybody has felt getting on a plane whenever the plane takes off and you have that initial bit of turbulence, that thought of like, is this it? Like, do we like, is this going to stop or is this going to turn into something bigger? Like they like picked that perfectly because everybody has had that.
Yeah, and that's statistically, takeoff and landing is also when
That's
things are
when it
supposed to go
happens.
wrong. But also a statistic.
I don't know where you're getting these
I'm
statistics.
a guy. I got the stats.
I want to see this
Here's
data.
another one. If you're scared of flying, the most dangerous part of traveling is driving to the airport. Then
Right.
statistically.
Of course, yeah.
And how the fuck's this guy know where his friends were seated and stuff like that? I mean, there's a lot of madness that we'll try to skirt over.
You haven't ever gotten the seating chart for a flight you went on to look it over later?
Oh,
You-
Billy's in E40. Oh man, that means I'm in. I said E40. What a weird slip that is. Fucking
Good rapper.
Yeah, I got my quarrel with him, but we can go. I digress. One of my favorite moments in this too is when
Is this episode about to become a kill scene?
yeah, it
for
just
Final
goes off into
Destination?
hip hop. But yeah, the one of the other things I loved about this scene is the bully. So the Devin like freaks out, and it is 10 seconds before the bully is on his feet punching him.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
He's like, I'm out of here. The guy's like, will you shut the hell up? And
Yeah.
just love that whole thing.
Yeah, the tease kills also is another fun component of this. Like, after they survive the crash or whatever, like Todd getting chased around by the water in his bathroom. So at first you think he's going to be shocked. Then he's like plucking nose hairs, and you think the tweezer's going to get shoved up into his nose. And then finally he gets strung up by a clothesline. Like it's that bait and switch thing you were joking about earlier. It
Yeah.
works, and they do that with every one of these movies, and it's still
It's
they
kind
just
of
made a sixth one. It's something that works.
and now that I'm like noticing all the like little hints, it is kind of fun to be like, ooh, somebody's gonna get hung if they just showed that for sure. Is this the hanging one? Am I right in my clues?
Right, you get to play a little detective work before, like, and see if you're right before.
Yeah.
I've heard that like there's people that make bets
See, that's
before they
that's
go
a
see
good
the
way
movie.
to do it. Yeah.
Like while they're in the movie, like as the scene's happening, it's like I got $20 that this is.
Yeah,
What's
it'd have to be
gonna
like a live bet. I love that actually.
You just have a bookie running around the
yeah,
movie
it's
theater, like old school.
That's fucking brilliant. I would participate in that so like every single movie if I could.
I mean, like leave it to Vegas. Somebody in Vegas
They
has
gotta-
got to be doing that.
yeah.
There was even like at one point Vegas even had bets on a WrestleMania, like one of the early WrestleMania shows with like Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan or something, and there was actually like a board in one of the casinos, like that hosted the event, like who's it going to be? Here are the odds. It's like they already have that written out, guys.
They kind of have that on like those dating shows too, which might be
Right.
written out, and we just don't know yet too. But
Yeah.
it's good times. I would be on that for horror movies. Somebody do it. But yeah, then they're all like decompressing in the little room, and the agent, I know him so well from U.S. Marshals and The Fugitive.
Wait.
His
okay.
name Daniel. His character's name is Daniel his real name is Daniel Roebuck, and he's Agent Ween.
Oh, he's the other guy. Shrek is his partner that I mentioned.
Yeah,
earlier.
the Shrek, his partner, is he's an American gangster. In
He's
Birth
one of
a
those
Nation.
faces, yeah.
But Daniel Roebuck, I used to love U.S. Marshals and The Fugitive, and he's part of the crew. He's on the team.
He's one of Tommy Lee Jones's guys.
He's on
right?
the team, yeah. I think he gets shot. More spoilers coming out left and right. Anyway, but yeah. So going into the funeral, it's one of my favorite lines. I think of like it's up in like top 100 all times. Is when they're first at the funeral before his friend gets hung. They're like standing over the grave with his friend. They're talking and they're like. He's like, hey, when this is all done, you want to go to the city and catch a Yanks game? And he's like, yeah, you catch a Yanks game.
I forgot about that.
So ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then, because then afterwards when he goes to the house and that freaking...
It's like, that's how we're going to process this incredibly traumatic event.
And they like get all like New York soundy all of a sudden. Like, yeah, when this is done and my dad's done with his bit, you and I hit the sea and catch the Yanks. But that cracked me up because then, after he's dead... Freaking Devin characters running around from house to house in this goddamn small town. So he's over there to be like, your son's about to die. And the dad's all like, this is your fault. And then you got that Claire girl, the whipped cream girl from Varsity Blues. And she's just behind the fucking tree, like...
hiding.
And she literally just says, don't go in there. And then that's it. I mean, it's fast moving and it's just ridiculous.
Well, they had to figure out a way to get to the next death scene. That's what all these movies are. Their plots and the acting is like whatever, but it's all just a vehicle to get you to the next elaborate death.
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff is going to get skipped over and seem ridiculous because they're just like, we don't know how we're going to wrap all this up, but all we know is that we've got these really weird, kill sequences in mind. So let's just like,
they throw some twists in there. I mean, But that I guess it kind of establishes that they both have like a quote unquote The Shining, and so they can like see stuff. And then he goes to a little sculpture studio, and she's like, "This is a sculpture of you. It makes me feel what you make me feel." And he's like, "I'm sorry."
This is I have to leave now. Don't call me anymore, please.
And then they hit the corner shop, which is looks just like Inception, which I was gonna say Christopher Nolan.
Definitely.
But I was gonna say Christopher Nolan ripped it off. But what's actually happening, I think, is Christopher Nolan's scene is filmed on a very, very famous Paris corner. And I think the director here is like trying to mimic them being in Paris because then they go to Paris later. I don't think, that type of thing.
Or maybe they did die and they're dreaming that they're in Paris, but they're actually in the afterlife and death is coming for them in their dreams while they're dead.
That'd be exhausting. It's certainly
I feel like that's a David Lynch film that never got made.
It's a version of Purgatory, that's for damn sure.
Yeah, totally. That kill scene with Terry while they're all fighting, and she's like, "Fuck you," and then she gets hit by the bus. That one always gets me. Like that's a great
It's because it's
trick.
like you're by cars zooming by all the goddamn time, and like
Every
that.
day is
Yeah,
like that's why I won't sit on a patio or a sidewalk by the street in LA. Like I'm very, very
yeah,
much
or
not a
stand
fan of
by
that.
the subway
No.
platform or whatever. I will say, if I was a teenage female actress, I would love to be the trying to control my hot-headed boyfriend. Like, don't do it, Terry. No, no, he's done it. I just think that would be a blast to be that role. Like, my hot-headed boyfriend, I can't control him.
But I love him,
I
Dad.
love him, but you two gentlemen get a grip.
You're right.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Uh,
But yeah, the next death after that is, which I think is the most brutal one and stuck with me like for years, was Miss Luton's death.
oh yeah, that one. It just again, it's funny because it just goes on and on. It's like O.J. Simpson in A Naked Lunch when all the gangsters
Yeah.
start shooting him and he like stubs his toe on the wall and then he like gets a pie in his face and he burns his hand. It's like it's got a little bit of that going. I'm telling you, man, this is almost a comedy.
It's
She's like, "Oh, the computer blew. Oh,
yeah,
and then a chair finally falls and
that was too good. And then when he pulls it up, that's full idle hands, where he's all frantic and looks at his hand like, "What have I done?"
Oh man. Well, there's a
That's so
fun
good.
Easter egg that they did in her kill scene when she like I think she comes back into the house right before the computer blows up, and there's a perfect image of a stained glass dagger right behind her, and it takes up the entire frame in her
Oh,
house.
there's another one too in her death scene when he runs in, and on the background there's a box, her moving boxes, and it says shadow transfer.
Oh God.
And it's like the shadows transferring too. I mean,
Mm.
they do so much shit. Yeah, they
Is there
overload you.
is there a statistic that you want to mention about that?
Statistically, shadows transfer only when there's light.
Aha.
See?
Going back before Todd's death, after they come back from the plane and the plane explodes and whatever. When Alex is at home before all the deaths start happening, there's a moment when he's looking out of his like living room window and lightning strikes in the street right in front of him.
Yeah.
It's one of the again another one of those over the top moments where it's like, yeah, like you're in trouble.
It's so silly. I mean, and also he's just creeping around. Well, he's like he thinks Miss Newton's gonna die, so he goes and looks at her tires. It's like, man,
Yeah.
reel it in. You're just all over the place. I would have a
Yeah.
hard time believing him too. I mean, after that, like it kind of starts hitting the accelerator, and
Yeah.
no pun intended. I guess it takes us into the train scene where they're all in the car, and the fucking bully is like, "Fuck it, I'm taking
Right.
charge here,"
You
and
think they're
then
going to get rammed by the train, which I guess has the number 747 on it.
yeah, it's also striped like the Paris plane with the Paris colors too.
Yeah, right.
And all kinds of shit. And Sean William Scott is also wearing the same colors. But yeah, that's I know it's so silly. And then yeah, the silly part that I didn't get though is like he saw the seatbelt, and they didn't mourn Sean William Scott for 1 fucking second. By the way,
No, they just blew right past that.
And it was like a shocking death, and they just run away. They don't even address it afterwards.
No. Yeah, it's a piece of scrap metal that the train like rattles loose.
That's scary.
I mean, that is actually something that could
Yeah,
happen and has happened.
yeah, yikes! All very scary. But
Good
then
old, good
yeah,
old Stifler.
the other thing, yeah. Then after he's like in the, I was cracking up when he's in his cabin, duct taping everything to the walls and eating tuna and just
Opening it with the gloves or whatever.
yeah. And it's like just get an apple, I mean, or peanut butter unless you have a that's gonna give you a
No, the
peanut
apple
allergy.
could have a worm in it that could eat through your intestines.
The tuna. You never know with tuna. Yeah, I mean,
Again, like not only is this movie a reference, like a could be a metaphor for extreme OCD, but his behavior in the cabin is like borderline meth head stuff. So
putting the
you
whole
know,
padded,
what are we
little
really- what
padding
are-
the corners. Or like I don't want to hit my head.
yeah, I got to put foil on the windows so nobody sees inside.
And then he also has a moment too where he's like, "I beat you, not forever, but in this cabin right now." And then he slams the wall, and another lightning strike happens. It's just gets completely ridiculous. But
Yeah.
and to be honest with you, I don't remember how they like cheated. Even I literally just watched it like 4 hours ago,
Yeah.
and I just suddenly I'm just blown away that 6 months later they're back on a plane going to Paris.
Something happened where he like died for a second, I think, and they
Right,
revived him.
when he drowned or something.
Yeah. They thought that they got it to skip him or whatever, and so yeah, they end up back in Paris. Which 6 months after all of that, that's not
Yeah.
long enough. I would, I don't know, man. If like everybody I knew died on a plane crash, and then afterwards the other survivors died in this really weird way, I wouldn't. It would be a long time
I'd
before
be
I
in
got
a
back on a
crazy
plane.
house. Well,
Really,
actually,
yeah.
in the second one, Claire or Clear, or whatever her name is.
Clear Rivers, yeah,
she
she
is.
ends up in an insane asylum.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't do that. And I guess if you really think about it, like, so if like Death like dropped the ball, quote unquote, of this, and had to like spend the rest of his time making up for this, I guess 6 months is about a lot of backlog he had to get to. And then he comes back after he caught up after chasing those fuckers around for a week.
Statistically speaking, I think you're right.
Yeah. And so also during this week, that means people are getting hit by cars and just being like, every bone in my body's broken, but I'm alive.
Yeah, so while Death is doing like cleanup work, like all this work killing people that he should be doing is like he's got to now catch up to them.
Yeah, and they're
Death
all
is
in a car at one point. I mean, just
he's a busy guy. Like he could have got them all at one.
Yeah,
one go.
if you're I guess it's the rule book must be dense. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure it is. Well, I think that's kind of cruising right through it. I think we're about to head into the Bedlam ritual.
Yeah, so we're going to get into some grave matters right now. This is where we have a few categories we like to go over. We got a couple of games that we like to play. So yeah, let's get into it.
All right, well, the first game we do is called Befriend, Fight, and Spare.
We do a little twist on Fuck, Marry, Kill.
Yes,
with
exactly.
Fight, Friend, or Spare.
You want to start us out? This one's
Yeah,
these characters are all pretty distinct.
It kind of seems straightforward for a little bit. Like I would fight the Billy Badass character, Carter. You know
The bully needs to be.
the bully needs to be straightened out. Also, I don't really care about his attitude as much as I just want his car.
His car is amazing.
It's pretty sweet. So that's why I would fight him.
Yeah, I almost respect it as like, fuck it, let's drive and do us all in. But he's too much of a hothead. He needs to be fought.
Yeah. Well, I would friend Clear Rivers, Allie Larder's character. She's kind of the outcast in school. You know, didn't have a great hand dealt to her. Her parents died, and now she's caught up in all this mess with these kids. She probably just needs somebody to talk to and hang out.
Yeah.
I mean, chill out.
Just make some sculptures, chill. Jeez.
Yeah, just make your art, do your thing, smoke pot, whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Listen to Lana Del Rey.
No, listen to John Denver, man.
No, John Denver. He's far, far away from Denver. And then who would you spare?
I would spare no one.
You wouldn't spare anybody.
No, like the mortician said, you don't want to fuck with Death.
Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about the mortician, but I think he is Death.
Right.
Right. We didn't even get to that, but
well, let's tell me who you would spare. We can get back into him.
Yeah, I have the exact same as you, except I would spare Sean William Scott.
Ah.
Yeah.
Right. Well, my favorite moment is after he gets off the plane and Alex looks outside the window and sees the lightning hit the pavement. That was just too right on the head, and I was like, oh yeah, all right, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really good moments. I think mine is them talking about going to the Yankees game. I just think that is so good.
Also, when Alex is trying to get away from the cops because they think that he's responsible somehow, he jumps inside of a canoe, and once again, like the score amps up the energy during what's got to be the slowest getaway moment ever. He's just paddling through and like you see the cop cars like scramble around him to go around. It's like
they
nothing
shout
is happening.
something. They're like, "We're trying to help you."
Yeah.
And he's like, "No." That's where I just kind of like couldn't keep track of where we were at that point. But I mean, all great moments there.
Yeah, the mortician. Going back to him, he was Tony Todd was that actor's name. He played the original Candyman, which we've got to do that
and
one
R.I.P. recently, right?
I think so. Yeah, he was in Bloodlines as well. He made an appearance. I guess another favorite moment of mine is with him where he goes, "You can't cheat death. You don't want to fuck with that Mac Daddy."
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah.
It's like, why are you getting like?
And also, he's just there poking a body, and two teenagers come in,
Yeah.
and he's not concerned about that. He just like scares them.
Yeah.
But yeah, good stuff there too.
Yeah. So a favorite moment?
Mine was the standing over the grave.
Oh, that's right.
What do you think of? Like, do you have a special question?
Yeah. So my question of the day. So Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger have cheated death like how many dozens of times? So at what point does death come for them? Like, what the hell, man? Right?
Yeah, I mean, there could be the Freddy versus
Like
Jason
Freddy, okay,
versus
Freddy and Jason, like not they already made Freddy versus Jason, but you've got a movie that's like Freddy and Jason having their final destination.
Yeah, they're like scared of their own swords or their own like gloves and stuff. Like,
I don't want to put on the glove anymore, Jason.
Suddenly, I don't want to go into the pond.
I don't like this.
Dangerous over there.
Oh, so moral of the story in this case.
I got a question for you first.
Yeah, go for it.
Would you have gotten off the plane?
No.
Me neither. Yeah, sadly. Unfortunately, I don't think I would have. Like, if it was my friend, if it was like you, I would. But if it was just some kid, like in my class, I'd be like,
this kid's crazy.
yeah, I'd be like, fucking kids.
That's his problem.
He's
Yeah.
masturbating with planes hanging everywhere. I'm not getting over this guy.
Yeah, seriously. He's reading a penthouse with a toy car in the background.
Yeah,
come on, kid.
No,
Yeah.
right.
So moral of the story: don't ever do anything ever.
Yeah.
Don't brush your teeth. Don't open a can of tuna. Don't drive. Don't have a computer in your home. Nothing ever,
sharp
or
corners.
else death will get you.
I agree.
If this movie's taught me anything, it's
That's certainly it.
lean into the laziness and procrastination.
Yeah, guess look both ways before you cross at the end of the day. I think that's going to do it for our very first episode here in the Bedlam, and we couldn't be happier that you all joined us.
Yeah, please keep tuning in and join us next time. And as always, to be continued.
And keep your eyes on the skis.